A generalist has a general wish to bandit with reckless abandon. Bird eggs, crumb cakes, delicious fried fish, dining fine, easier said than done. A cunning mind will help raccoons find the dishes that delight their fancy. A challenging problem is no great bind in their life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons, to Tristan Taylor, Jesse Raspolich, Carol Raspolich, and Richard Kaspar. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on.
And today we're talking about a master thief who is the king of Trash Mountain. But more on that later.
Yes. In fact, down in South and Central Florida, whenever you see one of those large trash mountains, there's actually a little throne on the top of each one, and on that throne is a raccoon.
Yes.
Little known fact about Florida.
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. Raccoons.
The raccoon, otherwise known as the trash panda. Trash mouth. He's an all-star. Roller coaster raccoon. And the bandit. The bandit.
And Rocky Raccoon, who fell back in his room, only to find Gideon's Bible, or whatever.
What?
It's a Beatles song.
Oh, you lost me.
Where a raccoon gets shot, and then while he's on the mends, he reads the Bible.
That sounds sacrilegious.
Why? He's anthropomorphic. So he...
It's like this animal
Actually, it's
reads the Bible.
It's unclear. His name is Rocky Raccoon, but that could just be like a moniker. There's nothing in the song that says specifically
he's a raccoon.
He's like Stuart Little, a boy who looks remarkably like a mouse. He's not a mouse, but he looks like one.
Or that's just his like mob moniker.
Mm-hmm.
This is just Rocky Raccoon. This is Tony the Tiger.
So
yep. So let's taxonomize this. Raccoons are weird. I'd be surprised if anyone could really, off the cuff, taxonomize raccoon. It's like, what is it? A cat? What is it? A giant, badger rat or something like that? It's none of those things. It's in the kingdom you know, love, and are in, though, and that kingdom is Animalia. The phylum is Chordata. The class is Mammalia. The order is Carnivora. I did know that one. Because if it's a mammal, then it's allowed to be a carnivore. If you're a reptile and you eat meat, not a carnivore. Get out of my sight. You're something else.
You're a carnivore, but you're not in carnivora.
You're not in the covenant carnivore family. Speaking of families, this one is Procyonidae or Procyonidae, which is lemurs, some lemurs, ringtail lemurs, like the kinkajou.
Is it the coati or whatever?
Coati. The coati. And the olingo. So a lot of lemur and cat-like animals from South America that you may not have heard of. Although I have heard of a kinkajou. I had a coworker that owned one and brought it into work. So I have pet a kinkajou before. I think its name was Molly. The genus is Procyon or Procyon, and the species is Lotor. So Procyon Lotor.
Interesting.
So not feliformes. It's not even close to a cat, and not close to a rat. None of those things. It's much more closely related to New World lemurs.
Very funny. Like, I would not think of them as lemurs.
I mean, now that when I think about it, that's a lot closer to me based on their like behavior and their tails, than like a cat or something like that.
True.
Because they're very dexterous. And they climb a lot of things. Not that cats don't climb, but they climb more like lemurs than they do like cats. But that brings, since we're in the business of naming things, that brings us to my favorite part of the show, critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal, or what is the term of entry, or what is the collective noun? If you saw a group of raccoons, which is probably pretty likely for everyone listening to this if you are in the U.S., what would you call it? Would you call it A, a scrounge of raccoons, B, a scamper of raccoons, C, a plot of raccoons, or D, a gaze of raccoons?
Let's do scrounge. Final answer.
It's man after my own heart. That's exactly what I would have wanted it to be, but it's not. It's a gaze.
Interesting.
It's a gaze of raccoons.
That wasn't on my radar. It was either that or plot.
Scrounge is what it was the first one I thought of, because oftentimes when I put these together, I'm like, what would I name it? What would I name a group of these guys based on like what they do and what we know about them? Gang is probably pretty good too. But yeah, it's a gaze, like gazer beam.
Cool. A gaze of raccoons.
You want to talk about what this looks like?
Sure.
In case you have never seen a raccoon before, it looks like a fat ringtail lemur mixed with a cat-sized rat. So we got fat, cat, and rat all in the same sentence. But it definitely has a cat-like, or sorry, a more of a mouse-like rat-shaped body and movement. But it also has these dexterous hands and a long tail, a long bushy tail like a lemur. And that tail is ringed black and white, just like the ringtail. Has an adorable face with one of those Incredibles masks. Speaking of gazer beam, it's covered in gray-brown hair on its body, except for those. It's got those black spots on its eyes that make it look like it's whatever the prototypical thief is. I started thinking about like why these guys are associated with thieves and stuff like that, and I'm just picturing like that 18th or like that turn of the century cartoon of a burglar wearing just the mask over the eyes and like maybe a black popper cap and then just black and white stripes on his chest, like
the Hamburglar.
Like the Hamburglar. It's like that's the uniform of someone who steals things. And the raccoon just fits right into that stereotype. They have a mousy face with long snout and whiskers that come out on either side, rounded ears, and like I said, they got those small people hands. We've actually mentioned this a long time ago. The raccoons have little people hands. Which they use to great effect. And I said
they don't have opposable thumbs though. They're not that people.
They're not. Yeah, super people.
They just got like little dexterous fingers.
Yeah, and it makes them even more adorable sometimes. And that's all I got in the description, but I did say it was like a cat-sized rat, so is it as big as a cat?
Well, let's find out. Welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show, the part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering. Chittering works for a raccoon.
Mm-hmm.
The words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro this week.
It's been a while.
So let's see if we can find a raccoon to introduce the show for us. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. They have some of the most interesting noises.
I've never
what?
heard that sound come out of a raccoon before.
Let's see. Is the Deinonychus a raccoon?
I don't know. What?
The sound of a Deinonychus in Jurassic Park.
Which one's the Deinonychus?
Oh, wait, no, I have it wrong. What's the one that like flares its crest?
Do you think he's Saurus?
Dilophosaurus.
Dilophosaurus. That doesn't sound like the Dilophosaurus in the movie.
It sure does.
That one has like a hissing. And like a...
that when it's attacking. But like think about when...
it has like maybe
Newman,
a slight warbling as it inspects Newman. But that was like a long wailing cry. Yeah, little chirps. There you
that
go.
One right there.
They just put a big hodgepodge of animal sounds together to make the dinosaur noises in that movie. Man, I want to watch that movie again. It's been a while. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't find anything definitive.
Our house is our front yard is now playing host to 4 stray cats that hate each other. So we get to hear all kinds of interesting sounds these days.
Yeah, cats make some weird sounds. But let's talk about body length. They're 40 to 70 centimeters or 16 to 28 inches. So how many colibri pistols go into the length of the average raccoon?
Oh, you did say you were going to do something with guns this time.
Yeah. Here's a hint. The colibri pistol is also called the hummingbird. It was made by an Austrian watchmaker named Franz Fanny, Pfanni. Oh, no. Fannel, Pfannl. Do you like consonants together with no vowels?
German is the language for you.
It was made in the early 1900s. It fired a tiny 3-grain bullet. Do you know what that means?
I don't
3
know.
grain?
I don't know exactly how grains, like what 1 grain is in ounces, but I do know
It's a weight?
that it is weight.
Okay.
So like, like I have 115 grain and I have 124 grain, but they're both 9mm. It's just a slightly
and you're trying to
heavier.
trade me some stone and some wood.
Yeah, it's like calling it stone. It's like, it's 12 stone. It's an archaic weighing method that they never deviated from. Why? Why do you still call it 115? Just call it like whatever point 2 ounces or whatever it ends up being. Like it's a. Anyway, they're already calling it like it's already a certain number of inches or for the diameter, and they just don't want too many decimals.
1 ounce is 437 grain.
All right, so
an ounce is huge.
Yeah, we've already established that ounce is the largest unit of measurement you could possibly have. And it is kind of insane for us to still have our smallest unit of weight measurement be as large as an ounce.
So we should use grain.
That is kind of the standard for just the imperial system in general. Like an ounce of liquid is also a lot compared to like milliliters and stuff like that. And an inch is just really big to be our smallest. Like it is very bad for measuring small things. But yeah. I think an ounce of gold costs like 10 grand. A grain is smaller than a milligram.
1.5 grain is equal to 1 microgram. So a grain is like a snowflake. Oh, a little lighter than a snowflake. No,
that can't be right. Because
snowflake's like 2 milligrams.
125 snowflakes make up a 9mm bullet. I think not. All right. This tiny hummingbird pistol fires a 3 grain bullet. So like not even a BB. It's like shooting sand. Sand grains.
Is it just to annoy someone? Can you... How would that be effective? Maybe it's just for a novelty. Maybe this wasn't for...
You said it was built in when? It was invented when?
Early 1900s.
Early 1900s. And that's the length of the gun? So it's barrel and all the way to the tang?
Mm-hmm. Actually, we're looking for its centerfire cartridge length.
Oh, so the cartridge.
I think that's the length of the barrel, because like a cartridge.
No, a cartridge is the round in its entirety.
Oh, the length of the round.
Yeah, so that's the bullet and the casing together. That's a cartridge. All right, so it's a 3 grain cartridge. It's basically a...
That's true. Like guns are often like the size of the round. That's the important thing. How big is this gun? Well, it shoots this size round.
The most important part
the gun is.
The most important variable of a gun is the round that it shoots. Everything else is just slight changes really to accuracy and velocity, but most of what does the damage is in the round itself. The gun is just a way to get it moving. Yeah, we'll go with 1/2 inch, which means my answer is 56. No. Yes, 56. Of these tiny cartridges go into the length of a raccoon.
Final answer?
Yes.
The correct answer is 263.
Wow, these are small. I really want to see this. What is the gun called again?
Colibri pistol. The round or the cartridge looks like it is maybe a little bit more than the diameter of a penny.
Oh, I see this.
The pistol has a 2.7 millimeter long centerfire cartridge. And somebody on Quora is saying that it's one of the few pistols which is more dangerous as a choking hazard than as a firearm.
Wow, that's very small.
Yes.
That's not what I was
I think they only
anticipating.
made like 1,000 before World War One started. And then they were like, let's make real guns.
And they're like, oh my goodness, we need actual guns.
Okay, let's talk about weight. They're between 5 and 12 kilograms or 11 and 26 pounds. Those are the averages. They can get bigger as the farther you go north. Because of what is that rule you said? Where things in the cold weather get bigger.
Oh, I just said that about bald eagle eggs, that they get bigger the more north you go, but it's not like if you're holding you can't just hold a small raccoon in the south and walk north and it grows bigger like the One Ring.
Oh no, it doesn't grow bigger, but the thing where like animals can grow bigger in northern
Polar
cold climes.
gigantism. That sounds like
It's
a real
like
thing.
somebody's. It's a person's law. The name of a person's law, and it's like a raccoon in South Florida. The smallest raccoons are in South Florida, actually, and the largest ones are up north. Because we talked about this, where like,
Bergman's
you
rule.
can lose. Yeah, where you can. It's easier to like get rid of heat when you're small, and it's easier to keep your heat when you're big.
Yeah, but there's less food the more north you go, which means you
very
have
true.
you have a lot to eat in order to you have to do a lot of work in order to maintain that bigness.
But there's a lot of in the spring. There's a boom a lot of the time in northern climates. So you're looking for 26 pounds. How many raccoons would an Irish wolfhound have to catch its weight in raccoons?
Ooh.
Here's a hint. The Irish Wolfhound is a breed of sighthound and it first emerged in the late 1800s. They are an attempt to recreate the extinct wolfhounds that were once common in Ireland, and you might see in old paintings.
I do remember when we were doing the dog episode that the Irish Wolfhound is one of the biggest dogs available commercially. It's one of the biggest dog breeds there is, at least in terms of withers height. That would make a good show, Withering Heights, but it's just about measuring dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine they probably weigh 150 pounds. That's a big dog. Maybe more than that. We'll go 180. 180 pounds. Divided by 26. And that brings us to, we'll say 7. 7, you'd have to eat 7 raccoons.
Final answer.
Yep.
The correct answer is 5.7 raccoons.
Oh,
The Irish Wolfhound can be up to 150 pounds.
I did have a right answer, didn't I?
You were so close. They look like fun guys to have around.
Irish Wolfhounds?
As long as you have a big enough estate. Big, fluffy.
Step 1, acquire large estate. Step 2, acquire Irish Wolfhound friend.
Have a walking carpet.
Step 3,
in your
profit.
A scruffy looking Nerf herder.
Who's scruffy looking?
I think it was Han Solo. Was scruffy looking.
I know. That's what he says.
Even though his best friend is clearly the scruffy one.
He's well groomed. Even though he is a walking carpet.
That would have been a really racist thing for her to say. But we digress. Because that's an intelligent species that you know of. You know about them. It's not like a novelty to you.
Yeah, that's why after that, Han was like, look at this racist. No reward is worth this. And she comes from, she's a princess. She's so privileged. She has continental breakfast for hair.
That's all I got for that. Do you have any fast facts before we get into the major fact?
I sure do. All right.
There's a ton of things you could talk about.
Yeah, I'll keep it short since we're running low on time, and I'm sure that the major fact is going to be just the majorist. So raccoons are native to North America, all the way, and Central America, all the way from Panama to Canada. But it has been introduced to Germany, Russia, Eastern Europe, and even Japan. They're Japanese raccoons. But obviously, they're not native there. They're just very good at not dying in places. They're very adaptable.
Generalists.
They like heavily wooded areas, unless the trees are birch, which are too smooth to climb. But they do like to make their dens in the hollows of trees so they can stay away from predators. And part of the reason for the raccoon's success is, like you said, they're generalists. Their diet, like a rat, is very broad. They can eat and digest a wide variety of things. But in nature, it likes to eat insects and worms and crayfish and frogs and fish and birds and small mammals, as well as plant-based things like fruits and nuts. But it has adapted to eat trash, to eat the organic waste that humans throw away, which allows them to not just live, but thrive in urban environments. They live for about 20 years in the wild. When after mating, there's a 65-day gestation period and then the kits, which are these little guys, they're born and they're raised in their dens by their mothers until they are weaned at about 16 weeks, and after which the females will still hang around the den and the males will travel up to 12 miles away to go start their own families and then also abandon them like their fathers did. Their predators include everything. Everything. They are on the menu for bears, bobcats, coyotes, wolves, cougars, alligators, eagles, owls, fishers, jaguars, and even lynxes in Russia. Basically, if you are a carnivore that is bigger than the raccoon, then raccoons are tasty.
Mm-hmm.
But their primary because they live in urban environments so heavily, they don't really have to worry about predation, or a large portion of them do not have to worry about predation. And their primary cause of death is a disease called distemper, which actually dogs can get as well. And they can also be rabid, so don't just pet whatever raccoon you find. They are also exterminated as pests, or they're hunted by Texan folk heroes to wear as iconic hats. Like good old Davy Crockett.
DB.
No, Davy Crockett. He's the Texan folk hero with the with the coonskin hat. I don't think Daniel Boone did that.
That's a good rhyme. The old pictures of him don't have it, but there's like modern he sometimes wears a raccoon hat, but it's like a full raccoon. Like you can see the raccoon's face.
You're right. That's a little disturbing. I think it's the Disney version of Davy Crockett that turned him into the coonskin hat wearing hero we all know and love.
Yeah, but like he looks like a gentleman of the 1700s in the old paintings of him.
Although, if you look up Daniel Boone, he is also wearing a coonskin hat in half of these. So it's just what you did when you were a frontiersman.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was warm and cozy. Also disturbing to have your hat stare at you like that. But they're also kept as pets, although it's not a good idea. It's not a domesticated animal.
I heard somebody describe it in a video as having a 2-year-old forever.
Oh no, that hits too close to home. You try to get it to eat, but it liked mac and cheese yesterday. The same mac and cheese is what we're having today. And why don't you like it? Anywho. No, I don't have any personal experience with that. Calvin Coolidge, U.S. president, famously kept a pet raccoon that he named Rebecca. Giving animals just regular people names is always funny to me.
It is funny.
Like, this is my bearded dragon. His name is Terrence. Yeah.
Terrence Howard, War Machine.
And that's all I got.
Okay, I'm calling this major fact the Wiley Bandits. Raccoons are extremely intelligent, but animal intelligence can only be estimated with tests like the SAT and by looking at their brains. So take everything with a grain of salt, because cognitive adaptations are often based on specific needs in an animal's environment, which makes it difficult to estimate. For instance, chimpanzees are way better at memory matching games than humans are. So like if you know the kinds of games where like you see all like a grid and there's like pairs of stuff mixed up. See the grid, goes away. They know exactly where it is. They see the grid for like a fraction of a nanosecond, and then they point out the matches in like another second. Like for some reason they are so good at memory matching games, but that doesn't mean they are generally smarter than humans. They're just better at us at that one cognitive ability for some reason. So that being said, raccoons are said to be smarter than cats, and some estimations put them just below monkeys in intelligence, which makes a little bit more sense now that they're kin with
lemurs, although they are not
lemurs.
kin with monkeys.
Right. Monkeys and lemurs are different, but they have similar lifestyle choices.
Except Zabu. Zabu's basically a monkey.
Because they are so smart, they were once used as ideal lab candidates, but it turns out they were too smart for that. They would often break out of enclosures and hide in vents. When researchers would try to get them back, they would become aggressive. So that's not ideal. You want something that's smart enough to do your experiments, but not smart enough that they're impossible to keep.
Not smart enough that it tricks you out of your business.
Yeah. And they also like kind of like a Tears of the Kingdom shrine solve the puzzle in ways that the developers of the puzzle did not intend for. So that's not great for experiments either. So in addition to being intelligent, they're also curious and persistent, which helps them fly through intelligence puzzles that are thrown at them. In one experiment, a floating marshmallow was placed in a cylinder of water, and the raccoons were trained to use stones to increase the water level to reach the mallow, kind of like an Aesop's fable. So raccoons would also steal and hide the stones for some reason in their in the sand and in their dens, and so that was annoying for the researchers.
Stones equal marshmallows, so if you can save up some stones, you can cash them in later for some serious mellows.
So they were also given objects of differing weights and buoyancies to determine whether the heavier, denser objects were better for the task, to see if they could tell the difference between buoyancy and weight and how it affects water. But they solved the problem in an unexpected way. One of them got on top of the cylinder and rocked their body weight until the whole thing toppled over. So that solves that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Trash can style.
Yeah.
So another used the buoyant rubber ball, the wrong choice for like displacing the most water. But they used the buoyant rubber ball to push down on the water to create waves that splash the marshmallow up within reach.
They're like,
So,
I'm not
like,
interested in playing your dumb little games, human. I'm interested in
I'm
that
interested
marshmallow
in-
and only
I'm
that
interested in
marshmallow.
gelatinous sugar. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, we don't know if they understand buoyancy, but they do know what marshmallow is, and they know how to get it.
They are good problem solvers.
Yeah, and they're creative problem solvers. So raccoons are often called bandits because of their little eye masks, but they're actually real bank robbers. In 2020, a bank in Redwood City, California was burgled. They're not robbers, technically. They didn't use firearms or weapons or threats. They used burglary. It was burgled by 2 raccoons that broke into the air ducts on the roof. However, they weren't in it for the money. Instead, they preferred to loot the almond cookies in the break room. The most adorable bank heist in history.
Yeah, that's like that first scene in Fantastic Beasts where he's got like a little platypus that just steals everybody's stuff in the bank. Although that was in it for the money.
It's like Over the Hedge.
I forgot about that movie and that Bruce Willis voices a raccoon.
It's a heist movie where Bruce Willis voices a raccoon trying to steal food.
And they're trying to heist, like snacks and stuff like that.
Yeah. So they might be smart, but we might be making them smarter. So city raccoons, not Raccoon City, city raccoons are found to be better problem solvers than their woodland kin. Raccoons that are stuck in the suburbs or in cities are nearly unstoppable when it comes to protecting garbage cans and other urban objects of interest. This is because raccoons have neophilia.
They are in love with new stuff.
Yeah, the love of new things. Where other animals treat new things as potentially dangerous and hazardous and give them a wide berth, raccoons are naturally curious about new things. And they will relentlessly investigate them. So in an urban environment, there are a ton of new things that are foreign to a woodland creature. When something is new and it's in between them and something they want, like your donuts that you threw out half of, they will work at it until they figure it out. Trash cans that are protected by a bungee cord or even built-in locks are only a temporary setback to these trash babies. When city raccoons were tested against their Briarville cousin, city raccoons are consistently better at solving puzzles. So, because we're giving them new stuff to look at, they're figuring stuff out and getting smarter. They have street smarts. One raccoon even hitched a ride on a trash truck, and legend has it he's made it to trash heaven, where he lives in peace to this day.
Or he's trash king.
Yeah, he became king of the trash hill. He became the monarch of Monarch Hill.
Right there across the street from Butterfly Garden, where all the monarch butterflies are.
So yeah, there's a ton of different stories about them like being super smart. And like there's videos where people keep them as pets. They might be a candidate for animals that use tools. There's one that in Florida that has built a relationship with a woman that feeds it. I don't know if it was domesticated or if it just like comes to the back door, but it uses a seashell to knock on the door.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it is. And you could argue that like using stones to
raise the water level
is a tool use. But yeah, they're candidates for tool use.
It's kind of sad that if you gave me the task of acquiring a marshmallow that was suspended in water but out of reach, the idea of throwing rocks in there to raise the water level would not be the first thing I thought of. I'd be like cramming my hand in there trying to get to it like a doofus while this hyper intelligent raccoon is reminded of water displacement and buoyancy.
I'm sure. Well, they had to train them to do that, but
yeah,
they also tried to reach down there with their little hands, and they did what I would do: tip it over. So,
I'm imagining in this scenario that it's just locked in there. It's like almost like a hole in the ground, and there's a marshmallow suspended in water down that like pipe. You can't get your hand in there, so the only way to get there is to give up and walk away. That's what I would do. It's just a marshmallow, right?
Well, they weren't when God made them, he forgot to put in the quit. Which is not a good phrase because God doesn't forget stuff. But it is funny because it's true. They got no quit.
Is that the newfangled thing the youngins are saying these days?
It's not newfangled. It's old-fangled, but it's something that the oldens say.
Using quit as a noun, as a resource.
You've never heard? It's like a southern like country phrase.
I have heard.
God made that boy forgot to put in the quit.
Oh, I've never heard that before. I've heard I can't quit you or something like that. But
that's not. We don't talk about that.
What is that? Is that something?
That's. Oh boy, it's from Brokeback Mountain.
Is it really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. I've definitely heard it in other contexts, but it must come from that.
Yeah, I think it's a famous line from that movie.
I thought it was because this analogy of love being a drug, and like you're addicted to somebody.
Could be. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
That's probably what happens in the movie, but okay. Moving on.
But that's all I got.
All right. Well, that's the raccoon. There's a very, very, very cute video of one where he's given some cotton candy, and I forgot to mention this, that raccoons have a behavior called dousing, where they will clean their food. They'll go over to water and rinse their food off before they eat it.
Except for they don't actually wash the food. Are you going to talk about that? Is that what you're about to say?
No, I was about to say that they would try to douse their cotton candy, which would immediately dissolve in the water, and they would be so confused and frustrated that this thing that they tried to wash is now gone.
So they do the dowsing, but it is not to wash the food, because why would a woodland creature wash its food? The one and only besides humans, they're doing that because something else we didn't talk about. They have like dexterity in their hands, sent like nerve endings and enough dexterity in their hands, so that them feeling something is the equivalent of a human seeing something. Like it gives them that as much information. So when the theory is that when they feel something underwater, it increases their sensory like ability to sense the thing. So it gives them even more information about the thing. So it's like when you're eating a sandwich and you get a good look at it in between bites, to plan your next bite, or to like see if it's something good to eat. That's what they're doing. gathering information about a thing.
Interesting. So they're like, it's like Daredevil in the rain.
Yes.
Or when Neo finally sees the code behind the Matrix.
But you could maybe also argue that, like, to get a true sense of this thing, I need to wash off the dirt and grime off of it. So maybe they are washing it in a sense. But it's the goal is to sense it more.
It's a fortuitous result that the food is now cleaner.
Or gone in the case of cotton candy.
Yeah, which was hilarious because he did it like 4 times. Like it just keeps disappearing.
Give him an Oreo and a bowl of milk.
Well, the Oreo's not going to disappear.
No, but I would just love to see his reaction to having the best cookie experience of all time.
As you watch a poor woodland creature's like dopamine receptors get rewired.
Yes.
It's like, oh, well, now I'll eat this and only this.
If I can't have that, I will go crazy.
I will starve to death if I don't have another Oreo.
But there's a woman in the UK that has a pet raccoon, and it just like there was a video of like showing like she puts rubber bands around like the handles of the cupboards, and like she takes the handles off of certain cupboards just to prevent it from getting in. And throughout this video, when they're explaining this, they're showing the cupboards and the raccoon getting in anyway. It can literally get everywhere. So like, I can't recommend a raccoon as a pet. It doesn't look fun.
You have to put up your laptop, otherwise it'll open a small business loan.
But you can't put it up. It's like a cat. There's nowhere it cannot get.
You put in a combination bike lock, and it just sits there and tries over and over again until eventually all 10,000 options are used, and it gets the right combination because there's nothing better to do.
There was one where it's like one of those latches like that are on some like bathrooms where it's like a hook that you can move on a hinge and put inside a loop, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
And there was a piece of food, and it had to go through 2 doors. 3 doors. One with like a wooden block that swiveled that was preventing the door from swinging open. It got through that one, and then it got through that metal hook, which the hook was on its side of the door, so it could like look at it and touch it and move it. And then the final door was like the lock was on the other side of the door, the opposite side of the door, and it had to reach through a hole to unlock it. And it got through all of them.
It's because it's all out of quit.
Yeah. It came here to eat almond cookies and pick locks, and it's all out of locks.
Chew gum and eat food. I'm all out of gum. All right, that's the raccoon.
Mm-hmm.
The chances are high that you live in a raccoon city. Just hope it's not Raccoon City that we all know from fiction. So, I mean, for you out there in Podcastia, nestle into a nice human city. Defeat those thief stereotypes, even though you are most definitely actually a thief. And use your animal wits to find a nice cup of garbage juice like the raccoon here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Garbage juice.
Nice hot cup of garbage juice is what I should have said.
Oof. Trash sweat.
Mmm.